I'm Simon Springer and I'm in love with this snare drum. Guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Monday, so it's obviously time for a new video. And today I'm going to do something unbelievable. I'm going to hit off another new series for this channel, the Snare of the Month. I was inspired to do this video or general snare drum reviews by my latest purchase, the legendary, charismatic and iconic Yamaha 14x3.5 Piccolo brass SD493. They only made these from the mid or late 80s up until the mid 90s, where it was discontinued. So it's now considered a rare vintage kind of snare drum. This thing was kind of the go-to workhorse for a lot of drummers in the late 80s. I've been interested in this drum for a while now, and a couple of weeks ago I decided that I want to buy one. I am a Yamaha artist, so my first thought was to write them and ask if they might have something still in stock or some leftovers or something. But there was absolutely no chance. This thing has been discontinued for like 25 years or something. So I went on eBay and I found two in Germany, and I bought one. To name a few people who played this thing, Dave Weckl played it before the release of his first signature snare drum. This is the snare drum on his iconic 80s video cassettes, Back to Basics and The Next Step. Vinnie used to play this snare drum too, for example at the famous Buddy Rich Memorial Concert, where they also did this now famous trio performance, Vinnie, Weckl and Steve Gadd. I heard that Steve Gadd also used to play this snare drum, and I believe Peter Erskine also played it at some point. I guess it sure inspired David Garibaldi for his signature snare drum, which is a very similar kind of drum. And there is at least one more guy we surely have to talk about when we talk about this snare drum, and that is Keith Carlock. You know that already, he's one of my favorite drummers of all times. Keith Carlock played this snare drum throughout his entire career with Yamaha, and even before that. But in 2004, a newer and a little bit different version of this drum was released in Yamaha's Absolute series. It featured the Nuvolux and had half an inch more depth, so this one was 14x4. Again, this is 14x3.5. This one, the newer one, is also the one he played at the Modern Drummer Festival, or I believe in his DVD. That's the newer version. But before that, it was this baby. Keith mentioned in an interview that he used this drum for 95% or something of all of his work between '93 and 2003. And then again in 2004 the newer version came out, and then he used that one. For example, check out Steely Dan's album Everything Must Go. There's only one snare drum on the entire album. This one. I don't want to talk too much. This video should be more about me playing this thing so that you can actually hear it. So I'm not gonna talk about brass as a material or brass snare drums in general or the concept of piccolo snare drums in general. I only want to mention one thing that people very often get wrong. A piccolo snare drum, so a very shallow snare drum, does not only work for a high-pitched, cracky, ringy, open, funky snare sound. You can tune this thing however you want. You can tune it way low, it still sounds great. So the depth of the drum does not really have to do that much with the actual pitch of the drum. Of course, a small shell has a higher pitch than a large one, but you can still tune the heads every way you want. So you can still go very low on this one, and you will hear this in a minute. But what the size or width or whatever of a snare shell does is it changes the snare response, so the response from your snare wires. The shallower it gets, the more snare wire response you have. So that's really the only big difference between a piccolo drum and one with, a larger shell. Okay, real quick, some more features of this drum. It is a brass shell, 14x3.5. It has those, 2-point lugs here, the old ones. The snare wires, hello. The snare wires go, how do you say this in English? Beyond the shell. So you have this kind of free-floating, snare system here, like with the Pearl free-floating snare drums. And the snare wires, they don't stop here. They actually go over the shell of the drum on both sides. And for this kind of, more funky sound here and the shallower drum, it works better when you use smaller, snare strands and not those, really big, fat ones. I don't like those anyways, I have to say. I'm using the reso head it came with, which is in Remo Ambassador snare side, because it was still in good shape, but I put a brand new coated Ambassador on top. Another thing, I find it very annoying when, people demonstrate a snare drum and then they show it in only, one tuning with only one type of muffling or something. So I'm gonna show you this in various different tunings, tuning methods, and with also various different kinds of muffling. But now, enough talking. So here it is, and I'll talk some more anyways at the end of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Tell me in the comment section what you think about this very special snare drum. And again, we're making this a series, so I will discuss one particular snare drum every month. I still have a couple of great ones around, so this is going to be fun. I'll hit you up next Monday as usual with a new video. Until then, please make sure to subscribe to my channel right here if you haven't already. Check out my 17-episode completely free course on hand technique right here. Check out the latest video on my channel right there. And this here might also be interesting for you. Thanks again, and I see you